You guys remember this thing right here, right? The Dell Optiplex. You guys remember this thing too, right? GT730. Totally bad idea, even in the name of bad ideas, even though it has 4 gig of RAM. It's DDR3, so that's what makes it especially painful to pay attention to. This does have the short bracket on it instead of the tall bracket, but yeah, that's to make it fit in there. Anyway, we're going to tell you why this is a bad idea. All right, so there are a few small advantages to actually doing this. The Dell Optiplex itself comes with a DisplayPort and a VGA, which is the old blue connector that has all analog. It does not have an HDMI port. So if you're looking for an HDMI port, that's about the only way you're going to get it, is if you put an external or a video card in it. Part of the problem with this video card is that it is an extremely tight fit. The heatsink on it is big. The section or the size or the area that it has to go into is rather small. It's a very tight fit, and there's no airflow, which means that this card can get a little toasty. Very hot to the touch, by the way. I'm not going to tell you how I found that out. Just going to tell you that I found that out. Anyway, the GT730, we took a look before at some of the benchmarks of just the Dell Optiplex by itself, and so we're going to go ahead and share some of the stuff that we found out when we put this oversized paperweight in there and tried to find out just how good it'd do. We'll start out by looking at all 5 of them together just to kind of see what we're looking at, and you can tell that they run a little bit better than the base model that are the integrated graphics that is in this Dell Optiplex, although that's not saying a whole lot. And if we go through and we kind of compare what they look like, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, at least it ran this time. We got a whole whopping 11 frames per second. Borderlands 3, we almost doubled. That was pretty cool, and we did a little bit extra there. We'll share that with you guys in a minute. Dirt 5 still wouldn't run. Far Cry 5, 14 frames per second. That's up. Yeah, it's up by what, 40%? Yeah, that's great, unless the base model was 10 frames per second, in which case, yeah, we got 14. And then CSGO, we actually, we'll go back and look at that because we actually did that in 3-part harmony. Actually, we'll take a look at that first because we did CSGO in 1080p, 900p, and 720p, and we can kind of see what it looks like, but none of them are actually playable. You can get it down 900p or 720p and actually kind of be playable, and it's not that far out of playable in 1080p, although it's less than 30 frames per second. That's an average, and I found that most of the time when I was actually playing, it was at or around 30 frames per second, but I was still getting my butt kicked because of the low frame rate. When we went back and looked at Borderlands 3, we actually did that at a resolution. We did it at low and at very low, and we also did it as the regular resolution and then a 75% reduction. So really, I mean, we just can't get enough out of this card to make it playable. So is there any reason at all to get a card like this? The short answer is no. The big answer, or the more elaborate answer, is if you already have this laying around or can get a hold of it or whatever, it is slightly better than the graphics that are in the integrated graphics that are in the Dell Optiplex, but this isn't a gaming PC to begin with. Can you turn it into a gaming PC by putting an external graphics card? Not this one. It's just really not going to help you. The only thing this is good for is to actually give you an HDMI port where you don't have one normally. And it would not do you any good in something like the HP pre-built that we were looking at before, because it already had an HDMI port, and the graphics are much better with that HP than they are with this GT730. So there's not a whole lot, even though it's got 4 gig of memory. I was really hopeful that I would see something, anything that would make some of these games come up to at least maybe close to 30 frames per second, that we can compare them to the base that we had out of the new HP and even the old HP, where we put a 1650 when we upgraded that processor to a Q6600. We overclocked that processor, we put the 1650 in there, and we got some playable numbers and especially at 1080p, but we just haven't gotten it out of this yet. The biggest problem is this is low profile. And right now, trying to get a low profile graphics card at a reasonable price is sort of like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It's just a very, very difficult thing to do. Those cards will run anywhere, a decent card will run anywhere from $300 to $800, and it's outrageous. But I have done, I don't know if it's the next best thing, but we're going to give it a shot. I was able to find two reasonably priced cards. I'm using that term loosely. The reasonably priced is not the word I would use a year ago when I was talking about buying a couple of GT1030s, but I have done just that. One of them is DDR4 and one of them is DDR5, and you're thinking, well, what's the difference? Well, we're going to find out. The next biggest nightmare to having a GT710 or even a 730, even though it does have 4 gig of memory, is to be stuck with the GT1030 with DDR4 memory instead of DDR5. The memory speed makes a big difference, and we're going to put that to the test to tell you why, hopefully be able to prove why it's a very bad idea to try to, even though you think it might be reasonable, to stay away from that DDR4 and try to get something with DDR5 instead. The overall best thing to do is just let's be as patient as possible to try to get a decent card. But right now, I got a channel to run, so I got stuff to try out, and we got a computer to see if we can't make it into a gaming computer. So let's find out. They're both on their way. One of them is on a slow boat from China, so we will see how long that takes. But I think the one with DDR5 will be here next week, and we'll give that a shot and see. It's got to be better than that 730. I mean, it's got to, right? Anyway, so as soon as that gets there, we'll go ahead and give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. In the meantime, coming up, I've run into some issues with just not having enough. I mean, you see the computers and see what I've been doing lately. I'm keep having to swap out Ethernet and Wi-Fi and everything. And so I bought myself an Ethernet switch, and we're going to find out if that makes my life even the slightest bit easier as far as trying to connect everything. So fingers crossed. Stay tuned for that one. If you're not already subscribed, please do. Hit that like button if you will. It always helps. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps me feel better, probably help you feel a little bit better. If you dislike the video, you can put a thumbs down if you want to, but let me know why. And I'd appreciate some kind of feedback. And you're always welcome to comment and share and do whatever you might want to do. But we're not done with this Dell Optiplex yet. We might be done with this GT730, but I'm not ready to throw it out yet because it's always going to be that HDMI port if I end up needing one to troubleshoot something else. So that's all I got for right now, folks. Joining me again over the weekend. I hope to have something else out over the weekend, maybe even on that Ethernet switch. So, and then my sister and my brother-in-law are looked to be doing some remodeling in their house, and he's about to redo all of his Ethernet and Wi-Fi. So stay tuned for that, because this Wi-Fi router looks like a spaceship. We'll see how it goes, but hopefully that'll be coming up soon too. That's all I got for right now. So until next time, folks, I'll see you later.